Welcome to the Week Junior, the November 18th, 2023 issue, and issue number 414. Let's get this started with. And today, the Time Lord returns! Doctor Who is back with the new adventures to celebrate the show's 20th birthday. 60th birthday, I mean. 60th birthday. 60. 6-0. That is what the cover says, though. And this time, we're actually going to talk about it a lot. But first of all, before we even get to Doctor Who, the famous Doctor who goes and travels through space and time, we actually have to talk about lots of other things first. Now, if you remember from before, the Gaza, Israel and Hamas have been fighting together for a while now, and Gaza and the Gaza Strip and Gaza hospitals are actually starting to run out of fuel. Now, after a few days of heavy attack on Israel's military, Gaza's largest hospital, Al Shifa, has no food and no fuel. Now, Gaza is a strip of land that lies between Israel, Egypt, and the Mediterranean Sea. On October 7th, a long conflict between Israel and Hamas, a group of that controls Gaza and that is classified by the UK government as a terrorist organization, actually became much worse. Now, the WHO, the World Health Organization, which is a global organization responsible for people's health, said that Al Shifa has stopped working as a hospital. People inside Al Shifa said the hospital was relying on solar power to run a few essential systems. On the same day, the Ministry of Health, which is controlled by Hamas, said there were still 600 to 650 patients and 200 to 500 members of staff at Al Shifa, as well as around 1,500 people seeking shelter here. The WHO says only a small number of hospitals in Gaza are working properly, and Dr. Ibrahim Matar, a heart specialist at this hospital itself, told the BBC News that the hospital is full of wounded people and refugees who took the hospital as shelter because they lost their houses. The food is getting less and the water is also getting less. Now, doctors have actually refused to leave the hospital and say they have to take care of their patients. And on November 12th, Israel's military said it had tried to deliver 300 liters of fuel to the place, to Al Shifa, but the Hamas has refused to accept it. Marwan Abu Shada, a surgeon at Al Shifa, actually told BBC News that the hospital needed 10,000 liters a day to operate normally. Yikes, that's 300 liters is still not even enough. And Israel had said it will collect unwell babies from Al Shifa and take them to safety. And on November 14th, Gaza's Ministry of Health said there were no systems in place to begin doing this. Now, why is this happening? Now, Gaza, which is home to 2.2 million people, are mostly Palestinian people. And they're short of vital supplies because Israel is severely limiting and can get in and out of the area. This includes the food, fuel, medicine, water, and electricity, and attacks from the air, fighting in the streets. And Israel's restrictions have actually made it difficult for aid to reach these people. And what have leaders said? Now, on November 12th, the European Union, EU, a group of 27 countries who work together, accused Hamas of hiding in these hospitals and among civilians, not military people. Now, the U.S. President Joe S. Biden said Al Shifa must be protected. However, the U.S. does agree with Israel that there is probably a Hamas base there. And on November 15th, Martin Griffiths from the United Nations, a group made up of the most of the world's countries that works to promote peace, said the protection of patients, medical staff, and the civilians override all their other concerns. Hospitals are not battlegrounds. That is such a big fact too. Now let's go on to the lighter news. It's an amazing week for furry friends, where Mowgli the cat was rescued by firefighters when Daisy the dog saved the day by leading them to an old abandoned mine in Cornwall, England. Now, Mowgli fell 30 meters into the mine and was trapped for 6 days before Superstar Daisy led their owner to the entrance. Yay, and now they're friends. Yippee! Then we have Hollywood actors heading back to work. Now, on November 9, 160,000 actors have ended a strike that had lasted for 118 days after agreeing to a deal with film studios in Hollywood. Now, a strike is when a bunch of workers stop working as a protest, and the actors were members of SAG-AFTRA, a union that represents the rights of film and TV makers, and including voiceover artists, stunt performers, and background actors. And the new deal actually includes a pay rise for actors and a bonus for films and TV shows that become successful on streaming platforms like Netflix and Disney+. And the deal also gives actors protection against their faces or voices being copied by artificial intelligence. That is a very big concern nowadays. Next up, because actors can now carry on working on films and TV shows that have actually post-production during this. So we can get people working on like Spider-Man, Beyond the Spider-Verse, finally, and Wicked. And during this strike, actors haven't been allowed or able to promote any of their films or shows in interviews or on social media. And since the strike ended, they have been allowed to talk about newly released or upcoming products, including like season 2 of Loki and superhero films The Marvels and Wonka. Nice. Alright, next up we have UK news, where a wizard train driver is wanted. Now, you might remember that scene in Harry Potter when the Hogwarts Express goes through and they're all like, it's the Hogwarts Express! It's the Hogwarts Express! Well, actually, the train itself is real. It was not created for its only purposes, and since 2011, it has still been in use, not for film purposes, but for its regular before film purposes, where it was used as train drivers. Now, it was on spellbinding rail routes, and the new recruits could find themselves regularly traveling along Scotland's West Island Line, which takes place in Glenfinnan Viaduct. And the viaduct, a bridge overland, and spectacular scenery around it, featured in actually many of the Harry Potter films. And the train company ScotRail said the new drivers will be based in Fort William, a town in the Scottish Highlands. Yippee! Alright, what's next? Next we have to talk about some particular people. Now, these particular people are actually pretty interesting. Now, let's start off with a positive message to all. Now, Nahid Roshalni was actually age 10 when she moved to Birmingham, England from Burundi, Africa. And on her first night in the UK, someone threw eggs at her home. And at school, she experienced Islamophobia, when someone is treated badly just because they're Muslim. And Roshanali is now the engagement officer for Islamophobia Awareness Month, which takes place in November. And this is a campaign that actually highlights the positive contributions that Muslims make to communities around the UK and raises awareness about Islamophobia. Now, Roshanali says she does this to every kid who's going through what she did. Now, next to the actual news. Climber hits the height. Now, determined 10-year-old Luke Mortimer has actually raised more than £20,000 for charity by climbing to the top of a 371-meter hill in North Yorkshire, England. Now, Luke had to have his arms and legs amputated, or also known as removed, by doctors after he caught 2 very serious types of infections, meningococcal meningitis and specticamia, when he was just 7 years old. And since then, he has learned how to walk using his artificial legs. On November 4th, it took Luke around 2 hours to reach the top of Emsay Crag, which you can see from his garden, and he was raising money for Limb Power and BBC Children in Need. Nice, man. Nice. Alright. I think we have time for one more. All about Doctor Who! Actually, come to think of it, I don't think we'll actually have time to explain all of Doctor Who, so I'll see you guys in the next part. Until then, toodaloo, wherever you are, whenever you are, be safe, be kind, and always wear a helmet. Bye!